Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nature in Your Neighborhood. Nice to see you all. My name is Rebecca Koronowski, and I am the Engagement Coordinator at Jefferson Land Trust. And it is my honor to introduce you guys to the Executive Director of Jefferson Land Trust, who would like to say a few words to you here today. Take it away, Richard Tucker.
Okay, let me make sure I'm unmuted. Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for making this series, Nature in Your Neighborhood, a smashing success. We have over 650 people who have signed up for this program, which makes it one of the, or if not, Jefferson Land Trust's most successful program and outreach. So thank you. If you're like me, you appreciate getting outdoors and getting involved in nature. This is very difficult times for this country with the COVID-19 virus and now the social unrest after following the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis and the resulting social unrest and claims and cries for social justice. But you know, my mind, because of everything that's going on, is cluttered, and I'm frustrated, and I'm sad, and I have a variety of emotions. And what I do with that, no matter what's going on in my life, is I go to my sit spot, and I sit outside in nature. I listen to the birds. I listen to other noises. I listen to the wind. I look for animals, and just be outside. And it's a rejuvenating experience. Likewise, I take my wonderful dog, who hopefully someday you'll all meet her because she's great. I take her for walks because it's good for both of us, but it's also really good for me to get out in nature. Nature has a healing power for us, and I'm proof of that. It keeps me sane. In the past several months, I went through open heart surgery, then we had the COVID-19, and now we have the unrest around the country. Nature has been my stabilizer, and it's kept me sane, as I've mentioned, and it helps clear my mind, get me resolved, and get me resilient so I can go and deal with what I need to deal with. So I want to thank you all for taking a break out of what's going on in the world to come join us for this really wonderful presentation. And I hope you will also enjoy the healing power of nature. So thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, I agree. The power of nature makes us strong. So let us use that strength in these difficult times to find ways to do what it is that we need to do to be here for our communities. Part of this program's goal was to connect people with their communities. And that was part of the reason why we wanted to make sure that we continued on with this program. In the light of all of the things that Richard just brought up, there are some difficult conversations that are happening, but ultimately we decided that coming together was really important right now, and digging into that healing power of nature that Richard is talking about is something that we can all use to find strength. So thank you all for being here and for taking care of yourselves and making some time to connect and to learn together. We really appreciate it. So now I have some technical things to talk to you about, as you are all probably used to hearing me say. If you're new, welcome. This will be fun for you. So the one thing that we are encouraging, in addition to the mute and unmute and the start and stop video in the bottom left corner of your screen, we have our tool of switching from speaker to gallery view. So let us all switch over to gallery view for a moment and wave hello. And we have Stephanie ready to take our picture and say hi. So again, thank you all for being here and being a part of this community. It means a lot to have us all here together today. So let's smile, wave. I don't know, maybe you want a two-handed wave. Maybe one hand's getting tired and you need to put the other one up. Peace signs. Yeah, I like it. Next time we'll bring music to this moment. I think that would be fun. So Stephanie, you give me the thumbs up when you're ready. There it goes. Okay, so let us now try our new tool of going over to speaker view so you can see my face big on the screen. And if you are in speaker view, you should have potentially the option to move my talking head. So when we are in share screen, which let me do that for you real quick, you have the option to move the talking head. So you can choose to pick the middle button on the right-hand side of your screen. You might see my face and you might see some friends' faces down below. So choosing the option that's just one square to make it my face, hovering over the screen share will get you there. Additionally, you can click and drag in that black bar on top of my talking head and move me around. And if that does not make any sense to you or that does not work, that's okay. This is a learning process, and you are welcome to communicate with me in the chat, which would be on the bottom bar of your Zoom window if you have any questions throughout the presentation. So yes, lots to learn, but we're all doing it together. And I'm happy to introduce the person that I have been doing everything with lately, Heather Harding. Can't seem to get away from each other. And if you have happened to check out the Leader this week, there is a really awesome article talking about the program and talking about some of the work that Heather and I have done to get it ready for you guys. So I encourage you to check that out. So with that, take it away, Heather.
Hey, Rebecca, thank you. I am here to introduce Byron Rot, who is our speaker today for Shrubs, introducing us to the ecology of shrubs, native shrubs of our area. Byron is a salmon biologist, and he worked for 14 years in that capacity for the Jamestown Sklallam tribe locally, which is how he got to know our area and also how he got connected with Jefferson Land Trust. And we're super lucky that he did get connected with us because he's been one of our key presenters for Tidelands to Timberline, which is the parent course to Nature in Your Neighborhood. It's a yearly, it's our 9th year with Tidelands to Timberline. It's our field course that we had to cancel this year, which spawned this online program. So Byron has been using his knowledge and training to help us out with Tidelands to Timberline, is now joining us with Nature in Your Neighborhood. He spent 3 years at Wilderness Awareness School, and I'm going to put that in the resource suggestions. I encourage you to check it out. It's in Washington State in the foothills outside of Seattle. And I have some training with Wilderness Awareness School, and many of us do on the organizing committee for Tidelands to Timberline. So this program is based a lot on the training that we received there, and Byron adds a lot to our program through his training there. It's not just a study about natural history, it's about the way you think about natural history. So I'm extremely grateful for Byron's way of thinking that he's going to share with us today about shrubs, as well as a lot of information. He is now living on San Juan County, and you're going to be seeing a lot of where he lives there. And he's doing habitat restoration as a shoreline biology on San Juan County right now, working for the county. So thank you, Byron, for joining us today and sharing your knowledge and backyard with us. And take it away.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Rebecca. It's such a joy to come join you here. It would be nice to be in person. I'm definitely a experiential type guy, so this is a new thing for me as well. But we're gonna. I'm gonna have a little bit of different kind of feel for you today than maybe some of the other speakers, where there's going to be a lot of video vignettes of different topics, mostly shrub species, but other topics as well, just to try to give you more of the feel of being outside. So with that, we'll just we'll just dive right in.
I'd like to give us permission
to walk into the green wall. Walk beyond the human-made trails. Normally we would walk this little gravel road. This is actually my road to where I live. We have this little deer trail right here. It's not well used. It's kind of faint. I've always wondered where it went though. So let's go check it out. Okay, so So as Heather mentioned, in 2011, I took a sabbatical from Jamestown Slalom Tribe and went and took the Anake program, which is the adult program at Wilderness Awareness School. And, you know, I found myself realizing at that time, I had been doing the Kamana self-study, which I'll talk about at the end. It's something that Wilderness Awareness School offers, and I think it'd be a great kind of continuation for you to do that. But I realized that really I always walked human trails. I was a backpacker, a sea kayaker. I just did that kind of stuff. And yeah, and so so going into that program gave me permission to walk into the green wall. And the green wall really is that wall of trees and shrubs that we don't know what they are. So, so I encourage you to consider that, walk a deer trail in your neighborhood, Cappy's Trails, wherever, and experience that. All right, so now we're gonna kind of dive into some of the ecological interactions of shrubs with interactions of shrubs with the overstory and so on, and with the animals. So just have a couple of videos of that. Oops, let's see, there we go. So here we have a forest of young Douglas firs, some madrones. Foresters call this dog hair. Just tightly spaced, tiny little stems. And then on San Juan, we have some big old trees, relics of the lime era. I'm on protected kind of parkland. It's a land bank. No shrub layer. Too many overstory trees, too low light. So I have a poll here. So there's other things going on here, and I would like you to, you have a few selections here in the poll. I'd like you to tell me what you think else is going on at this spot.
So Byron, I'm not sure if you can see the results coming in, but people are submitting their answers.
Yeah, how do I see those?
So I will show them to you in just a moment here, once we give everyone a chance to turn in their answers. So make a guess if you have one, and we will share the results with you now.
Ah, well, that is great. I like that. So, yes, it's all the above. So can you just turn off? Yes. So right here, you see this is bedrock outcrop. There's a lot of bedrock. You can see the bedrock in the back here. So very limited soil development here. So it's dry. So, and not much soil. So the geology and soil are linked here. We're also, San Juan's, as in Port Townsend, is you know, in the rain shadow of the Olympics, so rainfall is limited here. Not as limited as it is in the south part of the island. So we do have trees here. The south part of San Juan's, there's areas where there's no trees. But yes, it's in this particular spot, it's not just light, it's other factors too. Good, great, thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and see another site. So this is my property. Shrub layer is very modest. When you look down here, you can see a little snowberry down there, but it's like micro, and there's a bunch of them all over the place, snowberry. They're very small, they're like foot tall. So this is has to do with moisture. This is a San Juan Island, so it's fairly dry, but mostly light. You can see it's fairly shaded here. It's shady most of the day, and there's just not enough light for these shrubs to grow taller. Where they are growing taller is when they're on the edge. So you can see this salmonberry right here. It's growing taller over here as well. It's got more light. Okay, and so we're going to just jump right ahead and keep on my property and look at some ecological interactions with wildlife. This is just kind of a run-of-the-mill
Forgot this one.
shrub layer. This is right behind my cabin. I have ocean spray towering above me, Oregon grape down on the floor there. There's a bunch of herbs.
Grape right there. This is ocean spray.
Trees
right
are not that old, maybe 50, 60 years old. But there's enough light. This is on the edge of a pond as well, so there's enough light coming in, so it allows the shrub layer to develop.
Yeah, let's stop. So we're going to stop there for a sec. So what the other thing that's going on here is soil moisture. This is kind of a frost pocket where I live, where my cabin's at. So there's a pond right back here, so that's bringing in light. So there is a lot more light. Up on my property before this, the video before, it is a bit drier up there. It's not far from here. It's about a half mile, but it is up the ridge, so it's much higher. There is exposed bedrock there. Better soil development than the first video. So we have kind of a gradation of changing conditions here and interacting sort of physical factors that are creating sort of the template that plants can grow within. So now we're going to move on back to my property and look at the interactions with wildlife in the shrub layer.
Byron, just as a heads up, folks are not able to see your cursor. So if you're gesturing towards something, we are not able to see it.
Oh, can I turn it on?
I'm not sure at this point that we can make that happen.
Okay.
So over there is a deer. He's walking away. I don't know if you can see him. There's another one further up the slope. Deer have an amazing effect on the shrub layer, and especially on their travel routes. So we're going to follow their travel route here.
And we'll just go on to the next one.
So this is on the deer travel route. This is a little salmonberry. It's only about 1.5 feet tall, and it's just, and this is what deer do on their travel routes. They're like little weed whackers. So this guy is definitely able to grow taller. It just can't because it keeps getting browsed down. Here's more example of browse right here. The snowberry is just getting munched. It's about 18 inches tall, and there's another one back there. There's one right here. You can just see the ends, like right here, it's just clipped off. And that's browse. Deer are browsers. They do not eat grass. They browse on woody vegetation, eat the leaves off of woody vegetation. And you can hear the deer back in the salmonberry, blackberry in there, slowly making its way through.
So yeah, deer, I know I lived in Port Townsend for many years, so I know you know deer. And I know deer. There's lots of deer in the San Juans. And so they they have an ability to really change kind of vegetation communities if they don't get pushed around by predators. And there are no, on the San Juans, there are no predators. There's very few hunters. And there's, you know, so really the only thing they have to worry about is dogs chasing them. But other than that, there's, we don't have cougar, we don't have bear, we don't have predators that you have in the Quimper Peninsula, we just don't have here. So if anything, they're more tame than they are here. I've had deer walk by me like 5 feet away from me and just like not be all that concerned. Some of them run away and some of them don't. They really vary by that. So yeah, when you're out walking around, just kind of look for the these you know, bonsai looking shrubs and check out what they look like. And deer have, their mouth parts are formed for ripping and tearing. And so yeah, check it out. If it's deer browse, the ends will be really kind of torn up. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next slide, which I'm blanking on, but I will figure out when we get there. Oh yeah, this should look very familiar. So this is my actually my plea that that we all have an opportunity of varying levels to bring back some habitat for wildlife. This is in stark difference to the kind of the varying levels of shrub and forested areas that you just saw, but those areas, this used to look like those areas historically before it was cleared. So you know, the robins are out here, and there's a reason why robin's the most numerous bird in North America, because we've created a lot of great habitat for robins. But small mammals, birds, use the shrub layer to for forage, use it for habitat for their homes, and so there's a real opportunity for us personally, if we have a piece of property that maybe has more lawn than we'd care to care for, to plant some shrubs, plant some native shrubs, and give some back to the wildlife. And it's hugely important in our landscapes. And I just want to mention that our shrubs, our native shrubs, really, if you can imagine where you eat your berries, a lot of them are from shrubs. They may be cultivated shrubs or they might be native shrubs. The shrub layer is our berry producer, by and large, our fruit producer by and large, not entirely, but by and large. So, and it's very important for wildlife for that same extent. There's you know, a group of bird species that you know, are berry eaters. So yeah, so it has a huge benefit. And so a lot of the shrubs that we're going to talk about are berry producers. In fact, almost all of them. And yeah, so I'm really excited to show you these species we got coming up. All right, so the next slide I'm going to show you is just to make sure we're all on the same page, and it's going to be a basic drawing of a flower, just so that so I have a book that I bought recently. It's 200 and some pages of botanical jargon and descriptions, and it's a great book if you ever want to key out plants, but it just emphasizes how much terminology there is in plant ID. But you don't have to go there. If you just know a little bit, that's very helpful. So on this flower diagram on the left side, basically you see the petals. The petals are the kind of showy big ones. We're all, you know, very familiar with those with roses and all the cultivated plants we have. And then down, kind of cupping those petals, are what are called sepals, and those are reduced leaves. And then so then you have kind of within the petals, you have stamens, which are the male flower or the male reproductive parts. And then in the middle is the female reproductive part called a pistil. And so a lot of the berries we eat are formed in the center there, and then what the bees and doing are they're gathering pollen that's produced by the stamens. So on the right side we see a wild rose flower, and let's see if I can get rid of one. There we go. So this is a wild rose flower. Wild rose, the rose family is really easy to identify. It has 5 petals. So you see 5 petals there, 5 pink petals. It has 5 sepals, which are cupping underneath the petals. And it has lots of stamens. And that is for the vast majority of species in the rose family, that's how you identify them. And so you can go around the country and see something like this, 5 petals, 5 sepals, lots of stamens, and say, okay, that's in the rose family. And then you've narrowed it down greatly, the choices you have to the species. So just so you know, cultivated rose has been manipulated to produce more petals, so that's why it looks different than a wild rose. So we're going to talk about wild rose in a sec, but I want to just have Rebecca turn me back on because I want to show you a couple of my books that so this book, Cascade Olympic Natural History, is really by Daniel Matthews. It's on your reading list. This book's been out for like 30 years plus, 35 years, something like that. This was my first book. It's a natural history book, so it's more than just plants. But excellent book, lots of good stories. It's very readable. And it was just my first introduction into plant ID. But I really liked it when this came out, Plants of the Pacific Northwest Coast. Are these backwards to you guys? I see it backwards on my screen.
Nope, they're forwards.
Okay, I'm just backwards. Anyway, so this is by Pojar McKenna. It's also on your list. This is now my go-to book, field guide. You can see it's well thumbed through. What I did in here is in the shrub part, I put the family in there because that's very helpful, and as I'll describe you in a sec. Unfortunately, they didn't put the families in the shrubs, but my go-to book now, and kind of helping you with just figuring out the myriad of species, is called Botany in a Day by Thomas Elpel. And this breaks down the family characteristics. So there's like 100 plant families in the US. So, and those families have, so if you understand those family characteristics, then you can narrow it down to what species that are in that family. It's a very helpful way to figure out what you're looking at. You can do it the other way and just look at pictures, and I started doing that. But like for example, the rose family, you can only just pick maybe a half a dozen really common families, and they're actually in the front of this book, and know those, and you'll be able to at least be able to identify a bunch of species around. So that's my little plug for your reading list. Wilderness Awareness School, one of the things we talked about was, a lot of us didn't have our grandparents or aunts or uncles taking us around as kids and introducing us to plants and medicines, plant medicines, and all that stuff that traditionally happened in Western European culture, happened in American Indian culture. It's worldwide, that teaching. So these field guides are really our elders. There's a lot of knowledge in these field guides, and a lot of observational knowledge, and so it's really useful to take advantage of that. I have at home, I have a bookshelf that's 2 or 3 shelves of just field guides. So when I find a mystery out in the field, I come back and look it up. And it's a really good way to learn. And it really fits well within your sit spot, doing sit spots. So you can, for example, one of the things I would like you to do for next week at your sit spot is just observe. Let's see, I got to make sure I say this right. Yeah, observe the native shrubs at your sit spot. And you might get a surprise. You might see one that you hadn't really noticed before. You know, I had been sitting at my sit spot in Port Townsend for a number of months, and then I know trees pretty well, and I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden I look up and it's like, wow, there's a western hemlock on our property. I'd never noticed it before, and it was kind of a ways, but so then I went over and found it. And so, yeah, when you're at your sit spot, just check out and see what shrubs are around you. All right, Rebecca, let's go back to the show. Okay, so the other thing, really simple, you can get really deep. You can really nerd out on leaves, leaves terminology. But basically, what I'd like you to do is consider three basic leaf structures. One on the far left is an alternate leaf. You know, it's kind of zigzags. This alternate, opposites in the middle. They grow coming off the stem directly opposite of each other. And then the one on the right is whorled. So you have a whorl of leaves as it goes up the stalk. There are only 5 plant families that are opposite. So if you find a branch that has opposite leaves, that's a good diagnostic tool. So what I always look for first when I'm trying to identify a plant, a shrub, I just look to see if its leaves are opposite. If they're opposite, then it's like, okay. And the mnemonic is madcap horse. So maple, ash, dogwood, mad. Cap is Caprifoliaceae, that's a honeysuckle family. Horse is horse chestnut. Mad cap horse. Maple, ash, dogwood, Caprifoliaceae, horse chestnut. Those are it. That's 5. So if you know those 5, then if you can remember that mnemonic, then you can and you find an opposite leaved one out there, and it's a native one. Then that's very helpful. And these are for woody plants. Okay, how are we doing on time? Can't see my computer. Gotcha. Okay, we're doing okay. All right. Why don't we go to, let's go to the next video. We're going to jump right in. We're going to look at the opposite leaf ones right now. And we'll just jump right into the next video.
This little guy is called twin flower. See the little twin flowers there? It's a shrub. It kind of covers, it's kind of a carpet here.
So a question I have for you is if you've ever seen the plant knick-knick. It's also another shrub. So this is a shrub, twin flower is a shrub that spreads by runners. So I'm just curious if you know knick-knick, also a native shrub, ground cover.
And the results are coming in. A lot of yeses so far. That's great. We'll give another couple seconds for folks to answer. It's okay if you're not sure as well. That's totally cool. So, okay, let's share our results.
Okay, awesome. So knick-knick is alternate leaved. Twin flower, of course, is opposite leaved. And if you look closely down there, right to the right of my thumb is, oops.
right to the right of my thumb is the leaf. Yep, and you can see it's opposite there. So we're this is so this is in the honeysuckle family, I believe. Is that right? I'd have to look that up. Actually, I've forgotten. But it's one of the opposite-leaved shrubs, but Kinnikinnick is not. And so it's a way to tell the two, because they can look like each other if you just walking by. So it's a way to quickly identify each. Okay, let's go on to the next opposite-leaved shrub.
My favorite plants, honeysuckle. It's a vine. So you'll see these beautiful little orangish flowers. Right now I see them on the trail. So it's flowering right now, and very, really lovely little plant. Shrub, vine.
Yeah. So twin flower is in Caprifoliaceae. I just looked it up. Yay for the field guides. So this, why don't you, where is, oh yeah. So why don't you turn the screen back to me, Rebecca, for a sec. All right, so this is a little, so the thing about honeysuckle is it's a vine, and so this is the terminal leaf of the vine right there. I picked this morning, so it's starting to wilt. These are really cool. I really love these, and the flowers smell great. But they need something else to climb on. And so in the video there, you noticed it was climbing on another shrub. And but then you'll see, what I usually see right now is I'll be walking on a trail and I'll just see the little trumpet flowers, little orange trumpet flowers down on the ground. And then I know there's a honeysuckle above me. And I just enjoy finding these guys because I don't know, I just really like them. So anyway, this is the vine of honeysuckle. It's you can sometimes they get fairly large. I mean, this is small because it's at the terminal end, but sometimes they get large. Maybe a 1/4 inch in size, something like that. As the larger ones. We'll see a bigger vine later. Okay, we'll go on to the next, the last of the 3 opposite-leaved plants.
So here's some more snowberry, and I'll just show you several examples of snowberry so you can kind of get a sense of what it looks like.
Yeah, and then we got another one here too.
This is snowberry as well. This is often the young leaves like this will have these wavy edges, whereas the mature leaf will be much smaller and like this. So this is a fairly mostly snowberry patch, Eastern Washington.
Yeah. Just we'll just hold it right here for a sec. Whoops.
In our neck of the woods.
Yeah, let's go back to snowberry for a sec. I want to.
This is snowberries, Eastern Washington.
There, right there. Okay, so there's a couple things going on here. So first of all, I'm in Eastern Washington, of course. This is in what's called the Lime Belt, which is rather interesting because San Juans are well known for the lime kiln era. So both of these areas are lime based, which is, I just realized that when I was sitting here. This area burned in 2015 down to a foot deep of ash. I mean, it just completely burned. And there was nothing. I mean, it was like moon, the landscape. But the shrubs came back, and these shrubs are really deeply rooted. And so
and they may not have that characteristic here, but they do over in Eastern Washington. So there's a regional variation to how they react to the conditions that they have. And the rooting depth there is needed because they have to stay in contact with the groundwater table in order to stay alive through the really dry, hot summer. So I was really amazed at how, and deep-rooted species are very common over there. It's how they all survive the summers. But I was really amazed at how fast the shrub layer has come back in just a handful of years. All right, so now so those were the 3 examples. Those were all honeysuckle family plants. And honeysuckle is in terms of flowers, let's see, where do I have my notes on this? Yeah, you know, this funny thing is I made my notes on the in the speaker's notes, which I don't have in front of me. we'll have to go back to that later. Let's go on to the next slide. So now we're going to go into the alternate leaved plants, which are majority of what you see out there, the shrub layer. This is a salmonberry, and this is a leaflet. So each of these, so you see 3 leaves here, kind of right in the foreground of this photo. There's 3 leaflets make up the leaf of it's a compound leaf of salmonberry, and so that it's a characteristic of that. Sometimes it's so you see those 2 wings there. Himalayan blackberry also has those 2 wings, but it's much beefier than salmonberry. Salmonberry is a lot finer, a lot more delicate. There's other ways to tell the difference between Himalayan blackberry and salmonberry, but salmonberry has a similar feel. The leaf, this leaflet and leaves have a similar feel to Himalayan blackberry. Okay, so we're still in the rose family. We still have 5 petals, 5 sepals, many stamens. Let's go to the next video.
I'll back it up a little bit so you can kind of see it better. It just forms colonies. So this whole trail, this is over by the Anacortes Ferry, is just lined with Nooka rose. There's a flower right there. My hand is scale. It has paired thorns. Might be able to see there. These little leaflets coming up. Very, very common rose in our neck of the woods. It's a good one to know.
Yeah, so Nooka rose is, there's 3 common wild rose species in our area in Puget Sound. It's Nooka rose in the lowlands, Nooka rose, which is Rosa nookana, bald hip rose, which is Rosa gymnocarpa, and pea fruit rose, which is Rosa pisocarpa. Rosa nookana and Rosa gymnocarpa are really easy to tell apart. Rosa gymnocarpa is just, we're going to see that next. That's really easy to differentiate. Pisocarpa and nookana are not as easy to tell apart. In general, you saw how big that flower was in my hand. The flowers of nookana are much larger than pisocarpa. In fact, the smallest, in general, they don't overlap, but they kind of butt up against each other. For nookana, its flower widths are like 1.5 inches to 3 inches, and pisocarpas are smaller than that. Both of them can be heavily armed, like you see in front of you, but pisocarpa's arming tends to be a little bit less heavily armed as nookana. And piece of carpet, its leaflets, the end of its leaves tend to be a little more pointy than Nucana. So there's subtle differences, but there are differences. Okay, let's go to the next one, Gymnocarpa.
Yeah, so this is Rosa gymnocarpa. See all the fine thorns, really tiny leaflets, tiny flower right here. Small plant, understory in the forest. But lots of, look how furry this branchlet is with thorns. See that? It's just a lot of them there. And that's characteristic of bald-tip Rosa gymnocarpa.
You probably wonder why I'm breathing hard in a bunch of these videos, because I'd take my phone with me, I'd go hiking, and then I'd find something interesting, I'd stop, and I haven't quite caught my breath, and I'd film something, and I'd keep walking. So anyway, just in case you're wondering. All right, so we're kind of halfway through the rose family. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to kind of push through a couple, the last two, which are salmonberry and thimbleberry. So let's, we're going to just show those together.
Here's some thorns on salmonberry. Here's some more berries that are just forming, and there's a ripe berry right there, which I am going to. It's a little bit. No, it's not yet. Not quite ripe.
That's wishful thinking.
I'm not going to. So yeah, salmonberry. It's also forms really thick clumps, and this is kind of a wet area, so this is really perfect habitat for salmonberry. So let me stem back here a little bit so you can see the bigger picture of the salmonberry here. It's really tall. It's about 12 feet tall. You hear the crows in the background. Here we have thimbleberry, and that's these kind of maple-like leaves here. And these are the flowers, these white flowers right here. Thimbleberry, and you can see the fruits are started right there. And they're shade-loving plants, so they're very happy to kind of grow amongst others, but they will grow out in the open as well. And over here we have salmonberry berries, getting close to being ripe. Let's try this one here. I think this one's, nope, not yet.
Or wishful thinking.
Rose here, so we got a lot going on right here. That's not a shrub, it's called fringe cup. And really really diverse little thing of fringe cups. Beautiful. The sword fern in the middle there, and some sword fern. We've got a grand fir in the back. Just a lot going on right here. And there's more salmonberry.
All right, so that so those are for 2 berries and 2 rose hip in those families, in the rose family. The seeds are buried inside a fleshy outer casing, and so that's really characteristic. Well, that essentially is a fruit, but how this form of the seed is really what differentiates, and and whether it's like a multiple seeds, like multiple little fleshy things, like in the salmonberry, versus multiple seeds buried in a bald hip rose, in a wild rose, versus some single seeds. And so we're going to go on next and look at the apple subfamily of the rose family. And this is a Pacific crabapple we're looking at here. Again, 5 petals, lots of stamens. So the next one we're going to look at is serviceberry.
I am walking the shoreline, seeing what I see, and lo and behold, I come up on this beauty, serviceberry. And I'll tell you the scientific names when we see in person, because it's enough just to learn the common names. Look at these beautiful flowers on this. And serviceberry is slightly toothed. The leaves are slightly toothed, and they're kind of fat on the end. And so they're a little bit narrower, but they're almost oval shaped. Yeah, I just love this plant. Really, really good wildlife plant, serviceberry.
Yeah, technically they are oblong, but you know, whatever. But the toothing at the end is the diagnostic of telling the species of serviceberry. And notice that a lot of these berry plants have white flowers, except for salmonberry. Salmonberry has a pink flower. One thing I forgot to mention is Rufous hummingbird comes back when the salmonberry is flowering, and so there's some thought that the color, because hummingbirds are attracted to those kind of colors, is what draws it into salmonberry, so salmonberry can get pollinated. Okay, so now we're going to look at crabapple, Pacific crabapple.
Here we have Western crabapple, Malus juica.
Pacific.
You can see the little bit of serration on the edge of the leaves, very, very fine. Rose-like, the rose family-like flowers, very small, but 5 petals, a lot of stamens, very classic rose flower. It's a shrub, so it has multiple stems. You might be able to see those back here. Really important plant that grows alongside coasts and in wetlands. Very important shrub in our area. Native shrub. Crabapple.
Okay, so we only have a couple minutes left, and my eyes were too big. I had too many shrub species on here. So we're gonna show. We're gonna jump ahead to salal. So we're gonna jump over the next one, which is Indian plum, and jump to salal. And maybe you guys already know what salal is. Maybe I'm. Oh, ocean spray. Geez. Let's stop here. Let's do this one.
So here we have ocean spray again. I just wanted to show you the flowers a little bit better. They're just getting started, so they're just coming out. They're pretty small relative to what they'll be in a month. But they have these kind of, the leaves are, have lobes on them like this, and then the flowers are at the end of the branch. And then if you look underneath, you can just see all these straight stems like I talked about already. This is ocean spray.
Yeah, the other common names for ocean spray, it's Holodiscus discolors. It's scientific name, but other common names are ironwood and arrowwood. So Salish Indians used to use these for making arrows, and it doesn't burn. So it was very good for that respect, because you can, when you put it in the fire and you can straighten it out. If it's a little bit bent, but you can put it in the fire and straighten it out, and then makes nice arrows. Okay, and this, I think the last one we're going to have, unless we have a little bit of time after that, is salal. Gaultheria shalom.
The shrub we're going to talk about is salal. It has very leathery leaves, rough on the back side, smooth, shiny on the top side. Its flower is just about to open up. And salal also can form really thick colonies. It produces both runners and grows from seed. But we'll look at salal in another form, another place. Where I'm at right now is just near the Anacortes Ferry. And so just looking at what we have here.
So salal is part of the heath family. It has flowers that are very much like blueberry flowers, kind of an upside down urn. And so that's characteristic of the heath family. So you can go from subalpine area, heather, all the way down to lowlands and find members of the heath family, species of the heath family that have those flower types. And then you know you're in the heath family. You can narrow down what species it might be just from its flower. How are we doing on time, Heather? Are we?
We're about time to wrap up. Do you have any last comments or?
Well, I want to show, let's show the last slide, the second to last slide, the one with the, I just wanted to show one more. We didn't get to the Oregon grape, which I really like Oregon grape, but you know, you can't do everything. We're skipping over, yeah. But one thing I wanted to show is the difference between Oregon grape and English holly. Some of you may have English holly growing if you have kind of a wild area in your back, may have English holly back there. It's very common. English holly's on the right, the photo on the right has those red berries. We all know mistletoe and stuff. But on the left is English holly's is in my hand, and then that's an Oregon grape on the left side. Oregon grape is a compound leaf, so it has its leaflets are opposite. So it grows out of a base, either from the ground or from a stem. Holly, on the other hand, has a green stem. It's very green, except that when it gets older, it'll turn brown. But it's alternate leaves. So these are simple leaves. They're not a compound leaf like the Oregon grape. But all you have to know is it's opposite. It's alternate, and Oregon grape is opposite. So the leaves can look really similar. But if you know that you're looking at opposite versus alternate, you'll know if you're what you're controlling, because Oregon grape is a really good medicinal plant to know. Yeah, and I think that's it. I had a couple other things I wanted to show you, but oh well.
Well, thanks, Byron. You have the opportunity to share things with me, and I'll put it in the portal for people to look at. So we have a whole week to study shrubs, so you can also put in your comments in the Facebook post. So we're just starting. We're just getting going. Wow, can you all hear the thunder? It is thundering where I am. Hey, I want to show all of you a little bit about how to get to that information I'm talking about. So you can see the resource portal screen share that has information about that. And Rebecca, can you get we call it our outro. So these are 3 things that Byron has set us to task with. Notice the shrubs you can see from your sit spot. And then also he was talking about the flowering rows. So take a note of which shrubs are flowering and which are fruiting wherever you go this week. So just have new eyes to look at shrubs. And one way to do that is to notice whether they're flowering or fruiting. This is right about the time that they're transitioning. And then number 3 is choose one kind of shrub and learn more about it using Byron Rot's suggestions in the study group activities. And he has a really great outline of how you can examine one shrub more in depth by looking at the branch and drawing certain aspects of the shrub. So I really encourage you to take a look at that. So the next slide is going to show us how to get there to that information. The resources portal. And every week on Saturday, right after the presentation, we send you these links to the resources portal. And those arrows point to the family activities and also ferns, just for an example, because on the next slide, you'll see what happens if you go into, say, the ferns portal. Every week, there's a study group activities for whatever topic we're on. Resource suggestions, and that's where you're going to see those books that I've put as links for Byron. And also I will put the madcap in there and what that means for anybody who missed that. and also family activities, which are catered specific to children. So the next slide shows a little bit more about how you can get into the past event recordings. If you want to look again at this recording, go over some details, you can do that in this big link for view all past event recordings. And Rebecca mentioned the leader article. It's gone online. So on the very top, right under the KPTZ radio show, you can see where the cursor is pointing out. That's how to get to the online article for the leader. And I encourage you to check that out live in the paper this week, because it's got some really great graphics and illustrations that are only in the newspaper. So the next slide shows a little bit about where you can get more information. So if you have information about shrubs, you can email studygrouphelp@saveland.org, and we'll get that information to our volunteers and to Byron. Also, Byron, you can use the Facebook group, and so can the rest of our participants. Nature in Your Neighborhood with Jefferson Land Trust, and it's a closed group, so it's private, and we're not getting any outside interference there. It's just a really fun place to share natural history. And then if you're here because you've come here as gotten a link from a friend and you want to actually sign up for the program to get all of our emails and information, you can do that at saveland.org/neighborhood. So that's all I have for all of you. And I want to thank you very much, Byron, for taking us for a virtual nature walk, literally all around where you live on San Juan Island. And with that, I will pass it on to Rebecca.
Thanks, Heather. And thank you, Byron. That was a great adventure that we went on together, and I learned a whole lot from you. I'm looking forward to exploring more in my neighborhood this week, and really I don't have to go very far. I have a Nootka rose just outside my window that I can see right now that's flowering. So I'll be checking that out and using some of the tools that you gave me to learn more about it. I just wanted to point out, Heather did a great job explaining where our resources are, and there are a lot there for you. Those will be sent in the email that I'll follow up with you after the event on likely tomorrow mid-afternoon. It's always a little bit of a challenge to get those emails out, but we try to get them to you as soon as possible. And that will include this event recording. We do not currently have that link on our website, so being on the email list is the only way to get into that portal. So again, if you're here by invitation from a friend, and a good one at that, to send you here, you can go to saveland.org/neighborhood, and I put that link in the chat for you there so you can be a part of the email announcement list. I want to let you know that next week we will have, on Friday, we will have the wrap up of the Focus on Shrubs with Byron in the discussion group starting at 3. And at 4 o'clock, we will have another virtual nature walk starting our new topic on herbaceous plants with Coca Sanchez. And I really encourage you to come back for the discussion group, because that's where we can dig into a little bit more detail on the shrubs here. So do join us if you can, and we will let you have at it for the week. Enjoy your exploring, everyone. Let's go on over to gallery view and wave goodbye. Thanks for being here. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.